iScrappers, Tom from the iScrap app. Today is Wednesday, June 26th, 2019. It's here. It's almost here. It's not here yet, but it is right around the corner. And of course, we're talking about the G20 summit between President Trump and Xi Jinping, the president of China. And this is going to be where the meeting happens that we've been asking for over a year. Sure, there's been nice come-ins. They've said hi. They've talked. We've had different people talking to each other about these tariffs and eliminating these things and getting rid of some of the trade restrictions. But here we are at the cusp of the meeting actually happening in the next few days over in Japan at the G20 summit. Of course, the G20 summit is not talking about scrap metal, and President Trump and President Xi are not there to talk about scrap metal either. But all the things that they are going to be talking about, of course, they affect scrap metal. And that's why we've been so interested in it over the last year and a half. Many of us have seen the prices. We've complained. We've moaned and groaned and bellyached about where the market's gone for the steel and the iron market. And heck, even for copper, we've seen the markets go down, aluminum as well. Pretty much anything that could have been imported into China metal-wise has gone down in price. Now, we have seen a few increases over the last few weeks, which we'll talk about later, but we are very interested and hopefully excited for this meeting to happen. We'll get into what our thoughts are on the meeting later, but first, don't forget every Wednesday afternoon at 1 p.m., we like to do our live weekly report. We like to tell you what's going on with the market, and of course, we welcome any questions, comments, concerns, ideas, or just shout outs from you, the scrappers. Our job is to make your job easier, to be able to show you how to make more money with your scrap, share some of the scrap prices that we've seen reported across the US and Canada over the week prior, and to make sure that you know what's going on. So one thing we've been asked about, what are the prices? So let me throw a few at you right now. Over the last week, we've seen copper prices jumping. We've seen the Bear Bright market jump about 6 cents a pound. Prices reported anywhere from $2.03. We saw $2.11, $2.26, $2.31. Recently, we saw $2.41 per pound. Lowest price we saw for Bear Bright around $1.90. Number one tubing we saw priced in around $1.87, $1.92, $2.06. $2.14, highest price we saw was $2.19 a pound over the last week. Yellow brass prices a little weaker with the market showing signs of life, but still being a little weak. Price ranging $1.18 up to $1.37 per pound we saw for yellow brass. We did see one outlier. Yellow brass was reported at $1.50 a pound. Now, some of these markets we've been watching, we're trying to figure out what's going on with them. We've seen steel market eroding. We've seen the gold market increasing to 6-year highs. We've seen the palladium and the rhodium market increasing. All of those metals are going to affect multiple different avenues, from electronics to catalytic converters. And of course, they're very important to us because we always want to see where the markets are going. Looks like we have a question.
Just a comment from Anthony.
Great. Hi, Anthony.
Mentioned that he got $75 or 75 Canadian dollars for tin in Ontario.
Okay.
And he's holding out for at least 150, he said.
Well, it looks like you're going to be holding for a long time, Anthony. We appreciate the comments and the pricing. $75 a ton in Canadian dollars is probably about $50 a ton here in the U.S. We have seen those prices remain weak and does not look to be increasing anytime soon. Even with a possible agreement between the U.S. and the Chinese, we do not expect to see a large jump in the market, especially a doubling jump in the market. Heck, we would love to see it, but we do not expect to see it anytime soon. So we're watching the market. We're trying to figure out what's going on, and we've been looking at some of the other things that are out there. Now let's talk about some of the non-ferrous prices. We have started to hear that the aluminum market is starting to rebound. Maybe this is because of the talks that are going on. Maybe because this is a supply shortage due to so many recyclers across the world holding on to their material. Maybe this is due to the tariffs potentially disappearing in the next few months. Whatever it is, we don't really care as long as the prices continue to rebound. We've seen aluminum siding prices 25, 28 cents a pound, as high as 36 cents a pound over the last week. Sheet aluminum prices in the low 20s, low 30s once in a while, but generally 23 to 28 cents a pound on that sheet aluminum price. Question?
We have another price from Ryan.
Great.
He mentioned that copper went down 20 cents per pound 2 days ago.
Yeah, that's a big decrease. Your scrapyard might have had a couple of orders in, was a little scared, and wanted to make sure that they cushion any potential blow that could happen from this meeting in the next day or so between the two presidents. We have seen prices increasing over the last few days, so make sure you continue to use the iScrap app to find some scrap yards that are also in your area that you could call up, see some prices online, or even try out. By using the iScrap app, you'll be able to see some of the markets that are out there. So, a couple other things that we've seen non-ferrous wise. Gold prices has climbed to 6-year highs, around $1,425 an ounce as we last checked earlier today. Now, many people might be asking if the price of gold increasing so drastically is going to help some of their electronics. The answer is yes, and the answer is also no. Depends on who you're dealing with, depends on where they're sending it to, and it really is going to matter when you look at all of these things, how the market's going to flow in the upcoming months. Now, these are things that go up and go down. A 6-year high is always something to be noted. So if you do have a good electronic recycler, now may be the time to cash in. Question?
We had a question from Ryan.
Great.
He asked, how would a major war affect scrap?
I don't really like to think negatively. A major war affecting scrap, though, it could be both good and both bad. Some people look at things and say, well, wars are going to need metal. But you have to think that a lot of the wars that could possibly take place nowadays are not as hands-on as they used to be for World War I and World War II. Many of these things are going to be taking places by missile strikes, drone strikes, and a lot of robots doing the dirty work, if you will. Now, of course, we're always going to have troops on the ground, but I'm not going to go into this further, mostly because I'm an optimist and I'm not looking to have any type of, the word war enter my thing unless I'm playing a card game with some of my friends. So we'll go back to the aluminum market. We've seen it recovering, and hopefully we'll see some of these tariffs eliminating themselves in the next few days. We don't know what's going to happen. We expect a couple of things, and that's what we want to talk about now. This possible meeting happening in Japan. What we expect to happen here at iScrap is no deal to be struck this week. Deals of this magnitude and complexity take months, if not years, to fully execute and make it so both parties are happy. Now, when negotiations take place, generally both sides are going to have to give something, and no one's going to end up with everything that they wanted. That's just a negotiation. If one party gets everything that they wanted, that means the other party's not going to be happy. Now, what we expect to happen at this meeting is a initial agreement to happen that outlines where the tariffs are going to go, how they're going to be eliminated, how the Chinese are going to stop stealing or allegedly stealing intellectual data, how they're going to continue to buy more goods from the U.S., and open their markets up to overseas investors and companies to come into China. That's what we're hoping to have happen. On the U.S.'s side, we expect the U.S. to give companies like Huawei a little more flexibility, but also to make sure that the intellectual property that's allegedly being stolen is able to stop. Some of the larger companies in the U.S., such as Apple, have voiced their concerns because so many of their products are made in China and so many of their components are shipped from the U.S. These could have a small carryover effect and a domino effect going forward, but we're watching these very closely, and what we're hoping to have happen is a scale back, if not elimination in tariffs, a deadline and timeline set into place so both countries fulfill their sides because both are integral to each other. The U.S. being the largest economy of the world, and the Chinese being one of, if not the biggest competitor to the U.S. in that challenge, is going to pose many problems as both countries want to be number one. Now, we're watching this from a scrap metal point of view, and we're saying to ourselves, whatever they have to do to abate the tariffs, open up some of these trade routes again, and allow more materials to flow into China will be a good thing if, with an asterisk, both countries are going to be able to grow and work with each other going forward. Virginia, we had another question.
We have a question from Anthony.
Hey, Anthony.
With bare bright, does it need to be bright and shiny, or can the copper be not as shiny, clean, just not a mirror finish?
It's a great question that I've been asked hundreds of times at our scrapyard here in New Jersey. I generally give the answer, Bare Bright is bright, shiny, non-greased, non-corroded material. Non-oxidized, no green, no tarnish, no varnish, nothing like that. Now you could have material that comes out that got really hot and changed its color slightly, and you would tell your scrapyard, hey, it's Bare Bright, don't worry about it. Their problem is when they sell it to either a larger yard or to a mill, and those mills start dumping these boxes and see different materials in there that isn't bright and shiny, they could possibly put a claim on one box or one entire load, 44,000 pounds of Bare Bright copper or any other material that could potentially be contaminated. Scrapyards generally are not into taking risks like that, and because of that, they watch the markets very closely, and they especially watch the materials that they're shipping out. Hopefully that answered your question. Now on the steel and iron side of things, we've seen the prices decrease again about $7 per ton over the last week. Where we see these markets going with a possible trade agreement is yet to be seen. As the Chinese continue to produce 50% of the world's cold-rolled steel and other steel products, the U.S. has been pushing the steel working industry in the United States to continue to grow with more plants opening, although we have seen some plants going idle in the last few weeks as the market has decreased and the pricing has as well. Now the supply and demand is going to be the thing that we watch for, but really this week is all about the G20 summit. Who would have thought that a meeting between countries halfway around the world would be so integral to how the scrap market is going to be moving, but it really is. If we see things moving in the right direction, we could see these copper and other commodity prices increasing, such as aluminum, nickel materials like Inconel, stainless steel, 316 stainlesses, and other ones improving, but we really have to watch these markets closely because they're going to be so dicey if we don't hear a good piece of news coming out of Japan. If we don't see anything good happening, expect the markets to decrease. Many people have asked us our opinion, and we give you our opinion, not owning it, but telling you like it is, our opinion. We think that it is in the best interest of both the U.S. and the Chinese to begin to come to a better trade agreement. Long term, it will be more fruitful for both countries, but all the companies that are inside there and all the workers that are affected by these. Now, we're continuing to watch and monitor these situations as other materials outside the metals industry, such as plastics, paper, and cardboard, have been heavily affected as well. iScrappers, we're hoping to tune in this Friday, June 27th or June 28th, and have a surprise weekly report after the meeting takes place. If not, make sure to tune in either on Saturday or Monday, where we will have a report after the meeting notes are released and some interviews are conducted. We want to make sure to get you the most pertinent and relevant information that helps you with your scrap metal pricing as we can, and hopefully that'll help make you more money in the long term. This is Tom from the iScrap app. Every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we try to do our weekly report at 1 p.m. We're always here. If we're not, we try to go pre-recorded. Love answering your questions. Love seeing the prices come in. But until next week, I'll scrap you later.